Can you picture yourself sitting in a boardroom with colleagues or around a campfire with friends, and then starting off the engagement with a breathing exercise or an exercise of gratitude? Our guest today is a lawyer by qualification, but now practices and preaches well-being and performance coaching at the law firm he works at, one of South Africa's leading property law firms, Sneemans Incorporated. From learning the Sufi dance in Turkey to yoga in Bali, here to chat to us about work-life balance, well-being in the workplace, and the journey of self-realization, I present to you Mohammed Dawood. Mohammed, welcome to Echoes of Eternity.
Thank you so much, Shamil. Thanks for the initiative and for the invite.
You're very, very welcome. I must say, it's such an inspiration, just to be sitting here with you. I'm very pumped about this. Now tell me, right? You're someone that I feel is so well traveled. You've been on this journey of self-realization. Many people talk about the journey of self-realization. So not only have you've traveled to some of the most beautiful destinations, you actively went to go and learn a few things while you were at these places, but you also went to go and become a life coach, right, on your journey to self-realization. Can you maybe share with us what was one heartfelt lesson for you on this journey of self-realization?
Thank you. You had the answer in your question. You used the word heartfelt, and that's exactly it. For me, just the constant reminder and remembrance of listening to my heart, even when the advice took me to, perhaps more unpleasant things and experiences, but yet, just following the urgings of my heart, learning it, remembering it, learning to listen to it. That for me has really been what has guided my path and continues to do so.
That's amazing. I think I'm gonna ask you, right, because it's something I'm trying to learn and to be more in tune with is that idea of listening to your heart. It's so easy to get stuck in your head very often, right? How would you suggest someone begins to listen more to their heart?
Sure. So in order to listen to our heart, like you said, our heads can be very busy places, and a lot of us spend a lot of time in that space. So to quieten the mind is what gets us into the deeper layers of being, and that is where we find the heart. And the beautiful thing about this is that you can use any practice that resonates for you. So if you like to meditate, that's a beautiful way to drop out of your head and into your heart. But really, activity that takes you into your body is going to ground the awareness into the body, and that gives us an opportunity to just quieten the mind. And when the logical mind is like the foam on the ocean, shifting, busy, changing. But the minute we drop just a little bit deeper, we find that we immerse ourselves in a peace, a bliss at times. And really, this can be brought about through walking your dog. Spending time in nature is particularly helpful for this. Anything that takes you into your heart. It could be painting for you. It could be listening to music. It could be making music. Really anything where you are becoming present. So presence brings you into your heart, and the heart takes you into presence. It's really beautiful.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, thank you for sharing that. And I also love the analogy that you use of the foam on the ocean. It isn't something I've ever thought about, or I haven't thought about it in that way. So thank you for giving us that to think about. And also, just this idea that it doesn't have to be something that someone else, kind of preaches to you. It's something that resonates with you, something that, you're comfortable with, that you actually enjoy, that allows you to block out all the noise, if that makes sense, right? And then something as simple as walking your dog can work. And this idea, right, of sort of finding something that grounds you, this groundedness that we speak about, I think is in some sense, very central to the idea of work-life balance, right? Which is something we wanted to chat about today. And I think since the pandemic, it's like become a global value, work-life balance. If you ask many people today, what is, something that is very important to you, it's work-life balance. Now, before I ask my question, I think I want to emphasize and maybe get your thoughts on it as well, right? When people talk about work-life balance, I think the first thought that comes to many people's minds is corporate or workplace. I don't believe work-life balance only, kind of talks to that dimension, right? If you are a parent, for example, right, you need the work-life balance. If you, I don't know, you're in a relationship, I'm assuming, right, that also needs some balance, work-life balance. I don't know, do you agree with that?
So let me maybe take it a step back. For me, the term work-life balance is itself a misnomer. It tends to suggest that life is separate from work. And that's actually not true. Yes, our demands, the responsibilities that we have are almost ever increasing, especially in our modern world. And yeah, quite right, especially since the pandemic and all of the subsequent pressures that have come with that. But the reality is that it's you that are the employee or the business owner. It's you that are the boyfriend or the husband, the son, the brother. It's you that is a citizen of the country, you that is a citizen of the planet. So it's actually you playing all of these different roles. And so when we talk about things like work-life balance, it tends to exacerbate a separateness. As humans, we try to compartmentalize everything, almost try to, put time blocks on each thing, but we know life is not like that. Yeah? Life is really not like that. And so a far more useful way of looking at creating that balance that we seek is really to seek to integrate our essence, the you, the authentic you, into all of the areas of your life. Because remember, you can't give from an empty cup, as the saying goes. Yeah? And so coming back to yourself, filling yourself enables you to prioritize, to expend your energy in a conscious way so that you are able to give the best of you to all of the different spheres and areas and aspects of your life.
Mm-hmm. I think you've said that like really beautifully, and you've, I think, encapsulated this whole idea, like it's put a whole new perspective and spin on work-life balance. And I think you spot on when you say we always think of the two as being two separate entities almost. And I think in some way we know this, that it's not separate, right? But like you say, as humans, we try to compartmentalize. And I want to highlight, you said, put like it's time blocks. So that component of time is also something that nags at all of us. And we feel like this in this amount of time, So thanks for raising that, actually. I want to ask the question, okay, because many people talk about work-life balance. How does one sort of go about understanding what that means for themselves? Because it looks different for everyone. So how do I go about understanding what does that mean for me? And then perhaps, let's say that somebody is in the workplace, or actually, whether it's like you're saying, you're a son, a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, how do we go about executing that? If that makes sense.
Yeah. So a really useful tool is where you can sort of plot what are the different areas, the big important parts of my life. Work will be one of them. Maybe finances are another one. Maybe your spiritual life is another one. Your family, money and abundance. So you plot the big areas of your life. And something you can do is to objectively assess at this point in time, what is my level of happiness in this? What is my level of contentment in this particular sphere or area of my life? And if you find that a particular area or sphere of your life is not making you happy, you're not enjoying it, then you know that that's an area where you can prioritize. So this is where you can start checking in with, Okay, so this is where it's at. What are the options available from this point, from this place? See, another a useful a shift, paradigm shift that we can bring about is, instead of using all of these different areas and spheres to fill ourselves, when we come back, starting with the self, you start from a point that is whole and complete. And so instead of that external thing needing to make you happy, you come back home, starting from the point of fullness and wholeness, and then you see, all right, is that resonating? Is that in alignment with my true being? Yeah? Again, from that arises a vast array of options and possibility.
You know, it's funny, when I started this podcast, I said to myself, one of my goals will be to, try and shift people's perspectives and get them to think about certain aspects of life. And what you've just said, I think, covers that really, really well. And it's so easy to forget that it's so important to start from a place that is whole, and that place that is whole sits within you, the self, like you mentioned. And I'm not sure what it is, right? Maybe I'm still trying to figure it out, but I feel like many people look for that happiness, like you're saying, or that fulfillment in something external, and trying to use that to make you whole, when we forget that we are already whole, right? And then it's about, you also mentioned taking your, or putting your best version of yourself out there. So that's good for me as well. So I'm really appreciative that you've reminded me, and I think it comes back to, like you're saying, you probably need to spend some time with yourself, right? In order to understand what is that alignment for you, what does that look like? So now that we've got this idea of work-life balance sort of down, I want to shift it very consciously to the workplace to some extent. And I know we chatted about this, and my struggle, or the challenges that come with having conversations around well-being, work-life balance, and so on in the workplace, right? So how does, firstly, this journey of self-realization, so knowing yourself, understanding what work-life balance means for you, how do those two dimensions help us to start the conversation in the workplace that sort of transcend, creed and culture?
Yeah. So it comes back to what we mentioned a bit earlier. Remember, we are humans having a human experience, and that human it just tends to be in a workplace environment. So it's the setting that has changed, but we can't forget that it is people that we work with, people that have challenges, people that have dreams and goals. And so if you just begin there, it doesn't matter what the setting is, but if you meet a person as a person, well, that you drop all of the barriers, you drop all of the all of the identities and the roles, and you just meet each other as human beings. That's a great starting point. Yeah, because just like me, you have challenges, and just like me, likely you want to be happy in your life. And so if we can just start from that basis, it clears so much. And yes, breathing helps as well.
100%. Yeah, that's actually a good point. I think we forget as well that at the end of the day, the other person is also just a person, also experiencing life and the journey. And maybe we can chat about this. It's something I know you're very passionate about, and you talk about roles and identities. Can you maybe just help us understand? Because I think sometimes it's easy to forget that we can take on different roles in life. We sometimes feel like we need to play a very specific role, and that's like the be all end all. But I know that you have a really nice way of explaining that. So would you like to share that with us, maybe, just this whole idea of roles and identities and life?
Sure. So there's nothing inherently good or bad, wrong or right with the roles and identities. They are part of our experience. Where we get into trouble is where we adopt the values outside of us, society's values that tell us this is what you need to be when you play that role. So there's a particular image that you've got to take on. There's a particular mask and face that you wear because you think that's what's expected of you. And a lot of the time, these values are externally imposed rather than our own innate value system. And this is where the importance of authenticity comes into being. Yeah. I'm going to extend that. It's actually self-love. Because when I love and accept myself enough to be fully and truly who I am, I can carry that with grace and with joy into every area. And I can wear those roles and identities, in a really cool and awesome way, because I'm not losing myself by playing those. I'm actually being me, and that role, that identity gets enhanced because of the essence of me that I bring into it.
Yeah, I mean, wow, I think this, every response you're giving, I'm just like lost for words. It's really, really great. Thank you, Mohammed. You mentioned self-love, right? It's something, it's so important. And I think many people, again, these are concepts people might have heard of, they know about it. I think execution becomes difficult. And, like you mentioned, we very often adopt these values that are imposed, coming from the external. Okay, so I have two questions then, right? I think it's important, and hopefully someone out there, I'm asking this question on behalf of someone out there that's been yearning. How do we go about practicing self-love? And before you even, respond to that, I think you've mentioned the one is spending time with yourself. But how do we go about understanding self-love first of all, so breaking that down and then practicing it?
So, to begin with, we need to remember that love is both the thorn and the rose. Yeah, it's not just the frilly rainbows and unicorns kind of stuff. Yeah, yeah. This life involves a lot of messiness. Yeah, there's a lot of pain involved in it. We have a lot of suffering as well, and each one of us is given what we need for us to remember and discover our unique set of passions, talents, skills, and gifts. Yeah. And so the journey of love really for me starts with acceptance, accepting all of it. So I can't say I really don't. You may not like it, but you can love it. But it's like we can't say I'm going to cut that piece of me, and by cutting that limb, that area of me, I think I'm going to become more whole. So we run away from it, we resist it. Yeah. Instead, meet it, make it your mirror. Yeah. Especially those areas that challenge us, especially those areas where we'd rather not open the box. That is where love is actually hiding and saying, come and find me. Here I am. And again, settling into the heart. This is the gift that it gives us. The ability to not judge, not make good or bad, wrong or right. So that is what fundamentally holds us back from embracing all of ourselves, is making an aspect of us wrong. An experience, a trauma, a wound, a hurt, a characteristic, a physical attribute. Yeah, because we judge it. We make it wrong. But if you can drop that judgment by dropping out of the mind and into the heart embraces it all. The heart accepts it all. It just is. Practically, how we can go about doing this, spend time with yourself. Again, find the thing or things that take you back home into your peace. Peace is not something that we need to create. It is inside, waiting for us. And so what we need to do is we need to take the walls around, the walls that we've built, we need to tear them down. Sometimes with a bit of standing in our power, sometimes they'll just gently, naturally erode. But this is the process of loving yourself, is discovering who you are, who you're not, accepting and embracing all of it, and simply just choosing to love it. It can take you into your most broken and humble moments, and it can take you into your most ecstatic reverie. It is all love.
It's amazing. I'm truly lost for words. Like, I didn't expect any of this, Mohammed. It's really great. I think even for myself, just sitting here and listening to you, I think I could listen for days and you preaching, you know. And I want to, bring all of this together because we mentioned, because sometimes it is challenging to have a conversation with certain people, it can be anyone, on, well-being and on these topics of self-love, the self. And I think you've given us, so much to think about, which is exactly what, I intended this platform to be about. So truly, truly grateful that you're bringing all this to light. This another question I want to ask on this idea of self-love, and you mentioned like authenticity, right? And obviously, if you've accepted all parts of you, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? It allows you to bring your best version every day to all spheres of your life. How do we, because you mentioned values, okay, so it's very easy to, when we're playing these different roles in our life, it's easy to get told that these are the values that come along with this role. How do we, sort of differentiate between values that serve our best self and those that don't? And how do we go then about maybe replacing those that don't serve us with ones that, aren't just rebellious for the sake of being rebellious, but truly serve our best self?
Here again, the heart is the most useful guide and helper. And so the heart broadcasts truth. The heart senses, intuits. And that intuition is something that we can become accustomed to. We can learn to first of all, we can learn to listen to it. We can learn to discern that this is the voice of higher guidance. And we can learn to trust it. And when we come into that place, what it does is the heart also speaks through feelings. So if something is aligned and resonates, we tend to have joyful, uplifting feelings. The converse is also true, where something makes us feel inert, dull, and we need to look into that because I'm not feeling aligned, I'm not feeling energized by this situation, this experience, this role, this value. And so again, when we remove that judgment of good, bad, wrong, right, when we stop trying to run away from the so-called unpleasant feelings, but when we view everything as a teacher, a learning, a guide, well, that's where we then get the lesson. And just like the heart will let us know that I'm not happy here, it will also guide us to, well, what will make me so.
Now, very true. I think I agree with that a lot. And I want to say that it's a journey, right? It takes time to trust. You said the word trust. And I think lots of people, myself included, it doesn't always come easy. And I think it might be, I know for myself at times, it's because I'm looking for this massive win, something. And again, then it comes back to expectation, which is a whole new topic, right? But if you can celebrate those small wins as well, especially like we mentioned it before we started this podcast, the closed doors. And in a book I'm reading, Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, he mentions green lights, but sometimes closed doors, right, are also green lights, and we forget that. We assume it's a red light, and so it's important to remember for all of us.
Indeed. You're spot on. We are all works in progress. We are all learning and growing, and that is this path of life that we are on. It is a path of learning and growing. Being content, no matter what comes your way, makes you a fundamentally wealthy person. And again, if we can just view all of life's experiences, challenges included, as learning opportunities, fundamentally shifts our perspective. So instead of I'm helpless, I can't do anything here, we shift that into what's my opportunity for learning? What am I meant to be growing through here? What is life asking of me? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to move on to? And that fundamentally shifts things. We reclaim our power in that way.
That's incredible. And I don't know if you agree with this, right? But exactly that question, or those set of questions that I think people need to sit with when faced with anything in life, really. Is it okay not to get an answer? because I think in asking yourself those questions, it's very easy to then put pressure on yourself, right? For example, if something doesn't go your way, yes, I think it is very important to ask yourself, okay, what can I learn from this? Because I'm very much in that camp of what can I learn from this. But I have this personally, sometimes have this challenge within. I feel this pressure of, okay, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? And sometimes it doesn't come that easy. And I think it's important not to be too hard on yourself, right?
Spot on. There's a lovely principle. It's called non-attachment. Yeah. So for me, this is the practical application of that is surrender. And certainly in my experience, life asks us to constantly surrender. See, the opposite of surrender is trying to control. So even if it is a healing journey that we're on, even if it is a path of awareness and consciousness, and we're wanting to improve ourselves and live our greatest lives, we can be so focused on trying to control that, trying to control the process, trying to control the outcome, that we actually create a tension where relaxation and ease would be far better. Remember, if you want to receive, answers included, you've got to create space to receive. And that space is created by letting go. So you do your part. It's a beautiful saying in English, do your best and let God do the rest. And that is, for me, that encapsulates, the healthy, balanced kind of surrender. You must do your part. You must do your work. You must put yourself out there and know at which point you are now trying to control the process and trying to control the outcome. Let that go. Allow it. So much of this journey, as I'm learning, is about patience, persistence, perseverance. Sometimes it takes years for the answer to come. Sometimes when we least expect it, it drops in. And we've got to accept that the path is non-linear. Put yourself out there and then let it be. And if you find the mind starts worrying again, come back home to the heart. And come back home to the heart and keep coming back home. Yeah?
Yeah. It's I love that you've highlighted that and emphasized it, because it is important. And at the end of the day, like you say, we're human. We're all on this journey. It's definitely not linear, and it looks different for everyone. And again, you use the word black patience, and you mentioned, patience, I think, is something I personally struggle with as well. I'm learning to be more patient, but I think it's important, to just reiterate the fact that you need to create space. I think it's not something I ever thought about, prior to this conversation, but the opposite of control is surrender. And, you need to create that space, but at the same time, you need to put your effort and, put your best effort forward. This is very, very important. It's not about complete surrender and then letting whatever happen. So, yeah, really good. I want to talk about this ABC of well-being is what I'm calling it. And you mentioned the ABC of well-being to me. I feel like in school or at some point, right, they teach you about stop, drop, and roll when there's a fire. I feel like the ABC is exactly that, but for well-being. Do you want to help us unpack exactly what that is?
Yes.
And yeah.
Yes. Thank you. So to begin, when we want to do a job well, we incorporate the tools that can assist us with doing this job to the best of our ability. Life is no different. And on a path of awareness, learning, and growing, we can incorporate various different tools that resonate for us at particular points of our journey to assist us in living our greatest, grandest lives. And so the ABC stands for awareness, breath, and choice. The three tools that can really assist us fundamentally. Awareness, everything starts with awareness. See, you don't know what you don't know. So as soon as something comes into awareness, a whole host of possibilities starts opening. You can become aware of how you relate to something or someone. You can become aware of how you're looking at yourself. You can become aware of beliefs that are helpful and also those that aren't. And there's just so much that opens up from this awareness. It really is, for me, the starting point of everything. And so becoming aware also gives us the opportunity to be objective. Just play the observer to your life in an objective manner, and that awareness starts increasing. And this awareness is really like a muscle. The more we train it, the stronger it becomes, such that the awareness is the experience of life. So awareness is your A, and everything starts with it. The B, of course, starts for breath and breathing. Just a fundamental gift that we are given for this life. It is the very first act we perform when we come into this life, and the very last act we perform when we leave it. The breath is what links us to all of life, because just like, when you breathe in, what you're breathing in is what the trees and the lichen and the algae are breathing out. And then what we're exhaling is what all of that takes in. And so it completes this beautiful cycle, this wholeness of being, actually. See, when we are stressed, when we encounter stressful triggers, our bodies go into a fight or flight response. So we'll be familiar with this. Heart rate increases, body gets warm, and the body is really preparing itself to fight or to run away, right? Fight or flight. This is survival stuff. And one of the key things that happens in that process physiologically is that the breath shortens and quickens. Now, this can be useful when it's done in a conscious way. Exercise, for example. It's done in a conscious way. We are consciously stressing the body for health benefits. Unhealthy stress, bit of a different story. So just like the breath quickens, shortens, and sharpens when we are stressed, and by the way, many of us live in a perpetually stressed out state, which means that most of us, or many of us, actually don't breathe calmly and deeply enough. So what the breath can do is it can reverse that. So when we use the breath consciously, we tap into just amazing healing properties and qualities of the breath. And one of them is that it allows the body to reset, taking us out of that survival, fight or flight mode and into the calmer, rest and digest kind of space. It's from that space where our body physically heals. It's from that space where we find creativity increases, where we encounter practical solutions to our challenges and problems. And it's just far better to be calmer and more relaxed. So A is for awareness, B is for breath. And then C is really for the superhuman power that we have, and that is the power of choice. The power of choice. Now, many people feel that I don't actually have a choice here. There can be circumstances playing out in my life where I feel I am out of choice. And that's actually not true, because whilst we may not be able to choose the circumstances within which we find ourselves, what we always have at our disposal is the choice on how we get to respond to them. So here we can really tap into the wisdom of the history of our country. It is replete with examples of great men and women who were so physically constrained, for such long periods at times, and yet even with all of those physical constraints and maybe not so much choice in the circumstances, the choice to remain completely free in mind and in heart. And that's really blessed us or contributed so much to the freedom that we have in our country today. So awareness, breath, and choice, ABC.
So powerful and so simple, easy to remember, right? ABC. And again, these things take practice. And I'm saying that because, since I started this podcast and I've had all these amazing guests on, it becomes easier and easier to remind yourself of these tools that we have access to. and it's not something that you need to go out and buy, right? So something as simple as your breath, like you mentioned, it's easy, and I think it just that one, the breath, can tie in the other two, right? If you think about it. So you're in a situation, you find yourself, your breath is shortening, etc. That's awareness, because you know what's happening, right? You now have a choice. Do I continue down this path, or do I reset? So very easy to remember. So yeah, thank you for sharing that with us, Mohammed. It's great. ABC, you should get like t-shirts printed. And, they should be teaching ABC at nursery school differently now. It's not A for apple, it's A for awareness. Right?
Yeah.
So that's great. It's really powerful stuff. So thanks. I want to get to our reflections segment. I think it's been a few episodes since I've had someone come on with reflections. So I just want to remind everyone, this is where we kind of ask the guests to come on to share something, that's personally meaningful to them, that's, helped them along their journey, or is just, inspirational, and they want to share it with all of us. So Mohammed, what have you got for us today?
Thank you. So I really love the works of Jalaluddin Rumi, the great Sufi mystic and poet. And the particular piece that I'll share today, for me, really speaks to, the concepts, the beauty of unity, inclusivity, love, kindness, compassion, and perhaps even our human folly. And Rumi says, come, whoever you are. Wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you've broken your vow 1,000 times over. Come yet again, come.
Wow. I got like goosebumps. I think it ties in everything that you've spoken about really, really, beautifully. I have to ask you, right, because I think it speaks a lot to your journey of self-realization as well. Do you feel like that quote is something you carry with you, every day? And the reason I'm asking it is because I think many of us struggle with this concept of self-forgiveness as well, especially when we can't get it from others, right? Like you talk in this poem about this caravan, and it's essentially, if I understand it correctly, it's the first time I'm hearing it, so thank you. But it's saying that, like you mentioned, we're all human, we make mistakes, we're all on this journey, but no matter what, it's okay, right? I don't know, like, what's your interpretation of the poem? And yeah.
So certainly from a personal perspective, it really is about that journey of constantly coming back home. The path of faith is an ongoing one. The believer in us needs to know the disbeliever. Yeah. And so it is really about falling down 7 times and picking yourself up 8. But also for me, there is the aspect of the joy. Ours is not a caravan of despair. There can be a real joy, and we can experience joy and beauty even in our deepest pain, even in our most broken and humble moments. It is there for us. It is about accepting your fundamental humanness. We will err, and we do, and that's okay. We will make mistakes, and that's the place from where we learn and we grow. And the important thing is to just constantly come yet again.
That's so great. I think it triggered a thought for me as well, just now as you were talking. And it comes back to then what we spoke about a little bit in the beginning of the episode, of, just the engagement and conversation with others. But if you can go on this journey, this journey of self-realization and self-love and forgiveness and all of those things, it becomes hopefully a lot easier to engage with someone more positively. And I think that's so important, right? I think it's easy to go into conversations and engagements ready to judge or ready to share your opinion, rather than just, being yourself, your true self, your authentic self, and allowing the other person to do the same. And I think everything that you've given us today will enable better engagements. At least that's my hope. It certainly will for me. So thank you, Mohammed. In wrapping up, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience?
Just thank you to you. Thanks for the initiative. Thanks for the invite, and may all beings be happy and free.
Amazing. Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you.